Tonight, we're looking at one of the most unsettling, unsolved cases in history. A case that investigators, researchers, and even governments have struggled to explain. In February 1959, 9 experienced hikers entered the Ural Mountains in Russia. This was not a casual trip. They were trained, disciplined, and well prepared. Each member had survived extreme winter expeditions before. They carried proper equipment, kept detailed journals, and followed established safety practices. What happened next was never supposed to happen. Weeks later, their bodies were found scattered across the snow. Their tent had been cut open from the inside. Some had injuries that made no sense. Others were missing parts of their bodies. This incident became known as the Dyatlov Pass Mystery, and more than 60 years later, it still has no clear explanation. The group was led by Igor Dyatlov. He was only 23 years old, but already respected as an experienced hiker. The others were similar in age. All of them were university students. They were not beginners. Each member had completed multiple winter expeditions before. They understood the risks of the terrain, the weather, and the extreme cold they would face. This expedition was meant to be challenging, but not impossible. They prepared carefully. They packed food, clothing, navigation tools, and emergency supplies. They also documented their journey in detail. Their diaries described calm planning, routine decisions, and steady progress. In the days leading up to the incident, their messages home were relaxed and reassuring. There were no warnings, no expressions of fear. Nothing suggested that anything was wrong. Their final campsite was set up on the slope of Kolatsyakal Mountain. The name of the mountain loosely translates to Dead Mountain. At the time, this name meant nothing to the group, but later it would become impossible to ignore. When the hikers failed to return on schedule, concern slowly began to grow. At first, friends and family believed they were delayed by weather, but days passed, then weeks. Eventually, a search and rescue operation was launched. Volunteers, students, and military personnel joined the search. What they discovered first was the group's tent. It was still standing on the mountain slope, but it was empty. Inside the tent, food remained untouched. Boots and jackets were left behind. Then investigators noticed something disturbing. The tent fabric had been cut open. From the inside, there was no clear reason for this. Footprints were found leading away from the tent. They moved downhill toward the forest. Many of these footprints were barefoot. The first bodies were discovered near a tree line. Some were wearing very little clothing. Later, more bodies were found further away. Some had suffered broken ribs. Others had skull fractures. One woman was missing her tongue. 2 others were missing their eyes. There were no signs of a fight, no evidence of another group. The injuries were severe, but the surrounding tissue showed little external damage. Even experienced investigators could not explain what they were seeing. As details of the discovery became public, questions began to spread far beyond the region. Investigators and researchers attempted to explain what could have happened. One of the earliest explanations was an avalanche. According to this theory, a sudden snowslide may have forced the hikers to flee their tent in panic. However, some evidence did not fully support this idea. The slope angle was relatively shallow, and the tent was still partially standing. Another theory suggested military testing in the area. At the time, the Soviet military was conducting secret experiments. Some witnesses later reported unusual lights in the sky, but no official records confirmed any weapons testing near the campsite. There was also a theory involving infrasound. Infrasound refers to low-frequency sound waves that cannot be heard, but can affect the human body. Some scientists believe these waves may cause anxiety, disorientation, and sudden panic. This theory could explain why experienced hikers fled their tent without clothing. Yet, it does not explain all of the physical injuries. Each theory answers some questions, but every theory leaves others unanswered. No explanation fully connects every piece of evidence. In the months that followed, official explanations began to appear. The investigation concluded that the hikers died due to an unknown compelling force. No criminal charges were filed. No individual was held responsible. Families of the victims were left with more questions than answers. Many details of the case were classified or restricted for years. Photographs from the scene were released only partially. Certain witness statements were never fully documented. Over time, parts of the evidence disappeared, records were lost, memories faded. What remained was not a clear conclusion, but a collection of fragments that investigators could never fully assemble. And because of this, the Dyatlov Pass Incident never truly reached an ending. After the investigation concluded, the official case was quietly closed. The deaths were attributed to an unknown compelling force. Families were given very few answers, and many details were sealed for years. Photographs from the scene were limited. Documents were restricted. For decades, the case existed only in fragments. Witness accounts, damaged records, and unanswered questions. Even today, some materials remain classified, which has only deepened the mystery. If you're interested in real-world mysteries that remain unsolved, you can follow this channel for more. What do you believe really happened on Dyatlov Pass?